I mean, cancer rates are sky high right now. Why do you think that is? It's everything we're ingesting, everything we're drinking and touching. The two biggest causes of inflammation in your body, which is around the myelin sheath of the nerves and everything else in your body. Every process that you have when you got high inflammation can be caused by sugar intake and alcohol. And they're able to lie up to, I think it's like 18% of the nutrition facts. Muscle mass is more of a factor for longevity and quality of life in older age groups, 70 plus, than actual weight itself. The ones that are most unhealthy and have the bigger bellies and have more body fat, whatever it may be, are the ones that don't eat all day and then eat at night. Some are saying you lose 10 or 20 times the amount of muscle mass on Ozempic than you would losing weight the correct way of just dieting properly. I think it's a bunch of baloney that, people say you have to have perfect form on everything. You don't. You just got to move. You got to enjoy it. You got to move and just don't get hurt. If it wasn't around 100 years ago, you probably should not eat it.
Welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred. I'm Rich Roth, and my guest today, Ben Crosswhite, owner of Crosswhite Athletic Club. And we are here on the first episode of 2026 to talk about nutrition and fitness, and everybody's got these New Year's resolutions, and this is going to be the year I get in shape. This is going to be the year I get healthy. I know millions of people across the country are saying that. You must hear that quite a bit, Ben.
We hear it all the time. And I won't tell you the stats. I will tell you the stats.
Okay.
88% don't follow through with their New Year's resolutions by February 1st.
It's less than
88%.
1 month and it's over.
Yep. Unfortunately. Don't want to discourage anybody, but you have to have real expectations.
What do you feel like what have you seen, right? I mean, with all these people coming through Crosswhite, what have you seen as the biggest detriment to people following through with that New Year's resolution? Is it just too hard? Do they not really mean it? What do you see?
No, I think they mean it. They mean well. Habits are what wins. Habits win over anything else. Emotions and, good intentions, anything like that. The habits are where you really should focus your attention on. And habits are formed in 45 days by what a lot of scholars say. So if you don't form those habits little by little, then you're not going to make it happen. If you make it to a month and a half, I don't know the stats on this, but I'm sure it goes drastically up from the people that make it to February 1st or February 15th. They're going to make it to summer or the rest of the year. But you got to be careful. The emotions, if you don't have anything written down, if you don't have any goals and written down specific plans of how to get there, you're probably not going to get there.
And that's not just for health, fitness, wellness. That's just in general, right? I mean,
it's in general.
Everybody talks about writing down your goals, having it in writing.
Financial advising, all of that. Exactly.
This time of year, like we said, I mean, lots of people, hey, it's a new beginning, just got through the holidays. I would imagine it's a brutal time of year for a lot of folks for, physical well-being, right? Because of you roll from Thanksgiving right into Christmas. And, and I've heard it a million times. Oh, those are just 2 days out of the year or 3 days out of the year. But when you think of all the other stuff going on during the holiday season, it's the cookies that people are making. It's
2 months out of the year. 60 days, not 2 days.
It's not just 2 days because there's so much other stuff going on. How bad does it get for folks, do you think?
Bad, because a lot of damage can be done in 2 months. So like I said, it's not 2 days. Everyone starts on October 31st or before. They have their Halloween party. They have the candy. They eat their kids' candy like you do. You act like a Democrat on October 31st. You take all your kids' candy. Everyone does it. Right?
Wow,
all the good ones, at least.
Now we're getting political. Awesome.
I'll back off a little bit.
That didn't take long.
It normally doesn't take long for me. But, then you go into the Thanksgiving, and it's not just that one day. It's the entire week leading up to it. And Christmas, you have an out like, well, I'll start New Year's. Everybody says I'll start January 1st. So why not eat as much as you can? I have clients that do it every year. And for me, I usually tell my clients, I know you're going to eat. I know you're going to eat bad food. You're not going to record the food you eat. And I don't want to see it, honestly, until January 1st, but just try not to gain weight. Try to keep it at a minimal. So when they go into Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, know what you're going to eat. Know you're going to have bad food, but how much are you going to have of it? It's going to be portion controlled. Don't just go in blindly and eat whatever you want. Know that you're going to have one dessert, so choose wisely.
Great advice if, this were 2 months ago. Now everyone's
let's move forward. Yeah.
Now everyone's been through it, and it's okay. What do I do now? And a couple of things that we're going to talk about today are a bunch of the fad diets. How do they work? Do they work? How long do they last? But then, really setting up a plan. And before we dive into all this, your background, obviously you've run and owned Crosswhite for almost a couple of decades now.
Yeah.
But, nutritional expert as well. I know you've sat in on surgeries and, are a spine and fitness expert. And, that's probably not a big topic here today, but the nutritional side of things, I don't know if a lot of people know that about you unless they really know you.
Probably not. And, you're right. We're not going to talk a lot about the spine fitness side, but I will say that a lot of the patients that came to me, the hundreds that we saw with the neurosurgeons, their inflammation went down with certain diets, which caused their foraminal stenosis to die off and caused, the pain they had in their joints and their spine that caused radicular pain down the leg to subside. So diet is even included in that as well. A lot of people don't realize that. Your inflammation is from the two biggest causes of inflammation in your body, which is around the myelin sheath of the nerves and everything else in your body. Every process that you have when you got high inflammation can be caused by sugar intake and alcohol. Those are the two worst things you can take in for inflammation. So you need to cut back a little bit on the booze, don't you? How
do you balance that out is, I guess, the big question. Is there anything that counteracts alcohol, for example?
Counteracts? Maybe drink so much water you don't drink enough alcohol, but no, I think, and I could get into alcohol for a long time as well. And not to say drinking is bad in moderation, just like anything. You can overdo it, but it is one of the few things that stores as visceral fat in your body, which is one of the worst fats around the organs. It causes a lot of detrimental side effects and a lot of early deaths in people. And it does a lot of negative effects to your skin, your eyes, everything that you think about. Negative side effects. Alcohol is a toxin that you're taking in.
You mentioned sugar as well. I think from at least what I've heard kind of cursorily, carbohydrates have a pretty bad rap right now.
Certainly.
Right? It's like, there are so many diets out there, and we can kind of ease into that, but keto diets, carnivore, right? They're, Atkins. And I think a lot of these are probably very similar.
They're very similar. Yeah. Exactly.
And it's just low or no carb, right? High protein, maybe high fat to get the keto process working.
Sure.
Ketosis, right? In your body. But that doesn't seem like a long-term solution.
It's usually not. I think I told you the stat earlier that 92% of all people that go on some kind of ketogenic diet gain their weight back within the first 60 days. So I think it was 60 days. It might have been 90. But it's either way, they don't last long on that. Not to say it's a bad diet, but to say that only an all meat or all fat diet is great, you're completely wrong. Or to say that an all carbohydrate vegan diet is good. No, you're wrong. And we can get into that too, of vegan protein compared to carnivore protein. And animal-based proteins, they're completely different. One's for structure, one is for muscle, and the way they interact in the body is completely different with humans. So yeah, I have a lot to say on all of that. You pick the diet, and I'll dissect it. All
right. Well, we started with keto. Let's go there. Keto, Atkins, paleo, carnivore. Not all the same, right? Carnivore is supposed to be meat only, maybe some cheese, no vegetables, no nothing. That seems pretty hardcore.
It's pretty hardcore. And, carnivore diet is great for someone that is trying to lose weight to try to get inflammation down. Is it a long-term solution? I don't think so. You look at some of the Inuits up north, they eat nothing but organs and skeletal muscle, and they have incredible teeth, some of the best teeth in the world, right? But they have other issues going on just from eating all meat. So you have to keep that in mind. We're not meant to eat all just one thing as humans.
Are diets like that, and we'll stick with keto for the time being, would you recommend them for somebody who's starting out on something? Hey, I need to lose weight. I need to get in better shape. I realize that this isn't a long-term solution, but as a way to drop weight quickly to kind of get the process going. Yeah or nay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think certain diets are great for a kickstart. Some people need that, but you got to have a plan. What are you going to do after that? What are you going to do when you get burnt out on that? You started all in on the diet, and now you're craving something, you make a mistake, and then you get all back into what you used to be eating. And people don't have the plan when they don't succeed for a long time. They go right back to their old habits. So yeah, I think it is good to start with. You can do, I usually have some kind of cleansing method for clients that start out, whether it be fasting, and we can get into fasting too, and the pros and cons there, and then get into a ketogenic diet for maybe 7 to 10 days, producing ketone bodies and burning those fat cells and getting energy from other sources other than carbohydrates, and then working into a very good, well-balanced diet.
How many of your clients would you say that you actually work with on a nutritional basis as well as,
Every
just
one
in
of
the
them.
gym? Really?
Every one of them, to some degree, some more than others. But yeah, some need it more, some ask more. But most of the ones that are serious, that keep a food journal, I'll dissect it. I have that red pen, and I'm just marking it up left and right. They love it and hate it at the same time. But yeah, I think every one of them to some degree, even someone that doesn't want to lose weight but wants to gain muscle mass, you have to look at your macronutrients and what you're taking in. And if you get into even the calories in versus calories out, yeah, there's a lot of data there to say, hey, if you take in less calories than what your body needs, then you will lose weight. But does your body composition change? Not always. You might lose muscle mass, fat, bone density, everything together. So you can think of food as like a blueprint to what your hormones are going to do. So yeah, 2,000 calories taken in with one food is 2,000 with another food, but the blueprints are completely different in how they're going to interact with your body. One raises cortisol, one raises insulin levels, and you get more sensitive to insulin or less sensitive to insulin, and stores more as body fat or visceral fat. They're all different.
I'm imagining that, and really, it's not really my imagination. I'm sure it's pretty much fact, but depending on where you are in life, what you want to do, if you're a high school kid training for athletics, you want to be a college athlete, that's going to be different than a 55-year-old person who just wants to get in shape, or a 70-year-old grandfather who just wants to be able to get on the floor and play with his grandkid, right? I mean,
exactly.
All different. Let's talk a little bit more about maybe where the core for our audience is, which is going to be older folks, maybe 40s, 50s and up.
I was hoping you'd say 40 and up, not 38. So I'm not the older category yet. Okay. All right, good.
Not yet. You're close.
All right.
Close. You're getting there, I guess.
I'm getting there.
But, talk a little bit about, the folks who are getting older, right, who have kids and, they're not in the prime of their life anymore physically.
Sure. You're talking about with exercise and diet, or just diet?
All the above. Like someone who wants to be healthy, but, may not be able to commit to it like you are.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's how you make a living. It's what's most important to you. Other people, they've got things going on. They're running businesses. I want to have I want to be healthy. I want to be in shape, but I understand that, there are time constraints.
Well, you have to take into consideration the age for sure. What your goals are, where you're at currently, and your age plays a factor. As let's say when you get past 70 years old, weight loss should not be a factor as much. And there's new studies coming out that muscle mass is more of a factor for longevity and quality of life in older age groups, 70 plus, than actual weight itself. So when people try to lose weight in their late 60s, 70s, 80s, they're actually doing a disservice to themselves. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Is it because they're losing muscle mass?
There's no way to lose body fat at that age without losing some muscle mass.
Really?
And then what happens is they're going to take a fall. They don't have the stability anymore. They don't have the core. The back gives out, whatever it may be. And that causes the downward spiral. So it does. Age is a big factor. And then your gender. I won't make any political comments on this, but male and females are completely different. And you have guys that have a lot different goals typically than females, but the calories are different. The workouts should be slightly different and geared towards other things, and I can get into that too. But
this isn't really related, but I'm sure it is in some way, shape, or form. We're seeing a lot more with hormone therapy nowadays. You're getting older, you're losing hormones,
right?
And again, a little bit of a different topic, but I'm sure it's all interrelated in some way, shape, or form, because my guess is that if you're eating the right foods and working out, in the right way, that you may not need that nearly as much as, someone who's not taking care of themselves.
Yeah, there's several factors to include there, and a lot is environmental factors that we have no control over. So if you look at different studies happening now, the water you drink, tap water, the fluoride that's in the water that they put in back in the 60s or 70s because they didn't expect people to brush their teeth properly. So they started adding fluoride. And you have or Kennedy, that's trying to push to get that back out. But that's just one of many factors that are lowering testosterone levels. Fluoride will lower your testosterone levels. Estrogen in the water from females, being on birth control, peeing in the water, and it somehow gets back into the system. And so you got to look, it's not all our fault, but most of it is diet, alcohol. Alcohol will suppress your testosterone levels by like 70% on a regular basis, while it's doing all the negatives that we talked about earlier. But your lifestyle that you can choose is a big factor in your hormones. And like I said, the foods that you eat, calories might be the same in all these different foods, depending on how much, but the blueprints are different into how it's interacting with your body.
Ben Crosswhite joining me here on No Holds Barred of Crosswhite Athletic Club, and we're talking fitness and nutrition as we head into the new year, and lots of people with those resolutions of, I'm going to get healthier, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to do all those things. The stat you brought up earlier, 88% done by February 1st. That's remarkable.
It is. It's kind of sad too, and hopefully people watching will, make the time to have better plans, to put energy into writing their steps down. What are they going to do? Are you going to get a trainer? Are you going to get some accountability there? Are you going to have a plan of what you're going to eat? Don't just go in saying, hey, I'm going to cut sugar all year. That's not going to happen. You don't realize how much sugar is in everything. But if you have sustainable plans, maybe you go into it saying, I'm going to do ketogenic for 14 days, which is great. Or maybe you say, I'm going to fast 1 day a week, which is typically what I do. Not every week, but usually. 24-hour fast or a 3-day fast every quarter that I typically do, every 3 months. We can get into dissecting that a little bit too, and how it interacts with intermittent fasting and then long-term fasting. But I do the 3 days every 3 months. And it's something that is very hard to do, but once you do it, you can do it again. And it has tremendous benefits. But going back to what you said, I think the plans have to be written down. You have to know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and they have to be obtainable goals. You can't just say, again, no sugar all year. That's not going to happen. But getting to the intermittent fasting, because that's the big one these days.
Okay.
Everyone gets into intermittent fasting and they either love it, they hate it. It's the best thing in the world, or, you have some personal trainers, nutritionists, and other gurus online saying that it's one of the worst things you can do. So my thing is your body will get accustomed to certain times and days that you eat. So your basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that you burn just being alive, not doing any kind of activity. If you do the same kind of intermittent fasting day in, day out for months, your body will adjust to that. So the intermittent fasting, they actually have an app now that'll tell you when to fast, and it changes it up every day and every week. And that helps to where your body never adjusts properly to it. So your BMR stays high.
Explain intermittent fasting a little bit for folks who may not know exactly what it is and why it's so beneficial.
So really it's a calorie restriction, but it also helps to regulate insulin a little bit better, which is a big benefit. One of the biggest benefits I think it does. But people that, let's say, don't eat all morning long, they drink nothing but water, maybe coffee, maybe tea. They don't get any kind of calorie or macronutrient before, let's say, noon. Or maybe they don't eat after 6. There's all different types of fasting, which can be good to some degree. But I tell you, the consistent basis I've had over the years is the ones that are the most unhealthy and have a lot of, I should say, more guys than girls, but a little bit of both. The ones that are the most unhealthy and have the bigger bellies and have more body fat, whatever it may be, are the ones that don't eat all day and then eat at night. They take in all their calories at night. So there's something to be said for that, which means they've done it for years and their basal metabolic rate is so low, they're not burning calories anymore. Their body is holding on during the day. They take all of those calories in at night and they store most of it because your body's only going to process so much at once. But intermittent fasting can be good from time to time.
Let me stop you for just 1 second, because one of the things that I saw and I've heard is that if you eat, don't eat anything after 8:00 at night, right? Because you're not active, you're not doing anything, you go to sleep, it just sits there and it turns to fat. But then I've read some things also that says, doesn't really matter when you eat. It's just a question of, what you eat and, if the exercise you're getting and if you're burning the calories or not. Does it matter?
It does to some degree. Both are true. Yeah. So a lot depends on what you eat, more so than when you eat, for sure. But when you do eat at night, you are in we'll say a catabolic phase. So basically your body is breaking down muscles and you're in a resting point of where you're recovering, and you're not going to be burning as many calories as you will during the day. So let's say you take in a lot of carbohydrates or sugar at night. Yeah, it will be more stored as fat in your body because you're not going to be burning it. Your organs aren't going to use the sugar and the carbohydrates. It's going to be protein. But if you overeat, let's say you eat 6 eggs at night, not a problem. So it does matter about what you eat. And when you sleep at night and you're in this catabolic phase and you wake up in the morning, the only thing, this is one of the biggest reasons I'm not a proponent for long-term intermittent fasting. There's a lot of research that has been done on this, and converting your body from a catabolic phase into an anabolic phase of growth in the morning and actually getting into repair and muscles and muscle density and repair and all of that, you have to take in protein. So if you don't take in protein, specifically leucine, which is an amino acid in animal protein, if you don't take in enough leucine or protein in the morning, you stay in a catabolic phase. So you're continually burning muscle mass until you take that protein in. Now,
so for the people who are doing intermittent fasting and not eating till
they're losing more muscle mass. If it's consistently over a long time. Now you do it for a few weeks or maybe a month or two, probably not going to hurt you dramatically. But if you do it for 6 months and a year and 2 years, yeah, absolutely. The research is there. And that's been known for the last probably 5 years. But it's very important to make sure that you have the muscle mass, because what happens when you have more muscle mass, you're going to protect your joints, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be able to regulate insulin levels a lot better, but you're also going to burn more calories. Every pound of muscle burns up to 50 calories per pound. Every pound of fat only burns 5. So why do you think the bodybuilders can eat pretty much whatever they want? And the guys that are super fit, because their BMRs are skyrocketed because they have tons of muscle mass. So if you take away the muscle mass by doing the wrong things, then indirectly you are going to gain more body fat.
It's almost like a double whammy.
It is, unfortunately.
Right? You lose the more muscle mass you lose,
and your body composition doesn't change. And then you can talk about GLP-1 and Ozempic and all of that. You lose weight, but does your body composition change? Not really, because you lose bone density, you lose muscle mass. A lot of times they're saying, I don't know all the research, I'm just hearing bits and pieces of it, but some are saying you lose 10 or 20 times the amount of muscle mass on Ozempic than you would losing weight the correct way of just dieting properly. You lose it too fast. And at a certain age, like we talked about earlier, muscle mass is more important than dropping weight.
I want to get back to diets in just a second, but I want you to finish your thoughts on intermittent fasting, because that's something that I think we've seen, or at least I've heard of, a lot more recently in the last few years.
Yeah, it's a big topic now.
But I mean, from what you were saying, you have to mix things up a little bit. You said there are apps out there that'll mix up the times of day that you eat. It seems like doing anything for a sustained period of time winds up not working out. If you do the same thing over and over again for a long period of time. You even talked about the 3 days once a quarter that you'll fast. It's not regular.
And there's different reasons for that. But yeah, you look back at our heritage. Let's look back at what people call the cavemen or some of the primal people that, we came from. And the way they ate was when they caught food. They didn't have a refrigerator and things that were processed that could last months. They ate when they ate. And so when you get into fasting the same time, same day, every time for months or years, or if you get into eating 3 meals a day at the exact same time, typically, or only at night, that's not how our bodies are made. But the big fasting, you talk about the quarterly fasting, the 3 day. So There's a lot of different reasons I do that. One is just caloric restriction. It puts you in a big deficit for that month. It puts you in a big deficit for the week. But you don't want to do it too often. The other big reason I do that is for human growth hormone intake. So when your body gets to a certain point, I think it's at 36 hours, they say, your HGH spikes 500 to 2,000%. And that's to retain the muscle mass because you're not getting enough protein and other things to help support that muscle and repair and everything like that. So your human growth hormone spikes. You go through a phase called autophagy, which your body starts to cleanse itself out. That's at like 70, maybe 60 to 70 hours towards the end of it, towards that 3-day. Autophagy is at an all-time high. So it cleanses out cancer cells and, all different kinds of dead cells. It reuses it. And that was first studied, I think it was 2018. It was a Japanese biologist that found that out and reported it. And it's just now starting to make mainstream, the autophagy. But it's incredible what it'll do doing 3 days.
Do you recommend that for everyone?
Well, obviously I'd put a disclaimer in there, talk to your doctor and see, because I don't know all medications people are on. You have to eat with certain things, but
right.
Yeah, if you're moderately healthy and your doctor clears you, I would say absolutely. And, there's a story I want to say real quick too. And I thought about this the other day when someone else was asking me about a 3-day fast. At Liberty, I remember when I was there at Liberty, there was an old Liberty accountant that was a prisoner of war in World War II. And they basically fed him like 300 or 400 calories a day is what he suspected for about 6 months. Just super rationed food. He was about 120 pounds. Well, this guy came up and spoke at convocation and he was like 104 years old with like 12 or 15 grandkids. I can't remember exactly the whole thing, but it made me think of that because this guy that was super rationed food and was basically fasting, not by his will, but by others, back in the day, lived to be extremely old. So if it's that bad for you, some people say that fasting is bad. If it is, how did this guy live to be 104 years old? I was just thinking about that. But no, there's a lot of good research that's coming out about it. So I would recommend it to most people that are cleared.
Now, when you talk about him, I'm sure you can look at specific examples. Genetics has to play a role at some
100%,
point, right?
100%. Genetics are, yeah. However, you're predisposed, but whether that predisposition comes into effect is dependent on your external factors. So you have these, let's say you're predisposed to cancer. You have cancer cells in your body that are ready to grow, but you take in the sugar, you take in the alcohol, you take in all of the chemicals every day, the nonstick, stuff you use and whatever else you eat, then that's going to be exacerbated. And you're going to, what would have been cancer if you would have lived to be 110 might be cancer when you live to be 72. So yeah, you have to be predisposed to that. However, it's like male pattern baldness, right? You have to have that genetic trait in order to get male pattern baldness, but there's things you do that will expedite the process.
Back to intermittent fasting. You recommend it?
I do with certain parameters. I do. Not doing the same time, same day for months on and years on, but I do think it is a way to keep calorie restriction. Say if you want to keep your calories at 1,800 a day or 2,200 a day, it's an easy way to do that. And some people need that. Guys more than girls. Because
you're just eating in a certain window.
Exactly. You're eating a certain window and it's very clear. It's no slippery slope. A lot of people, they'll start to reason with themselves like, well, I'm sugar free, but technically this is not real sugar. Technically, this is only a little bit and it's natural sugar, whatever it may be. But you can't reason with yourself that you can't eat before noon. So that's why it's good. It keeps those people that are getting ready to get on a slippery slope in check.
You mentioned a word before that I've heard, don't know a ton about it. Macros?
Macros. Mm-hmm. Macronutrients.
What are they? Why do they matter?
So
it seems pretty intense. I mean, I've seen some people like trying to count their macros and I'm sitting there going like, that seems like a lot of work.
Do I think that's a lifestyle as well? No, absolutely not. I think it's something people should do at the beginning, maybe weighing their food, counting their macros, getting an idea of how many calories you're taking in a day. And then once they can replicate that and kind of know generally, it's not something you want to do the rest of your life because you want to live life. Mm-hmm. You don't want to get a burnout. I guarantee you'll get burnt out if you count the rest of your life on macros. But yeah, macronutrients are composed of fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Those are your 3 macronutrients. Now you have different types of fats, different types of carbohydrates, saturated, unsaturated, mono, polyunsaturated. Monounsaturated is one of the best. They're even finding that saturated fat is not as bad as they said, as long as it's a whole nature and whole form, and not hydrogenated, where it's an unsaturated, they turn to saturated. That's one of the worst you can have, like peanut butter, right? When they mix the peanuts, the peanut butter that it has the liquid on top, the oil on top.
Yeah.
So that's all peanut butter. But then you get the Jiffy and the new stuff that come out, 20 years ago or something. And they take that liquid and they turn it into the solid. So that's called the trans fat, which is chemically altered, which is the worst you can take in. So when you eat that
Jiffy's no good.
It's horrible for you. On top of that, you're adding sugar. Like you look at it, it's added sugar. It's like the second ingredient. Peanuts, added sugar, hydrogenated oils. So you're looking at, okay, now I'm going to get diabetes and cancer. Got hydrogenated oil and gut health. I'm going to have horrible intestines and gut health. And let's just break down peanuts. It's a legume. It's not even a nut. It doesn't even have properties of nuts. So you're getting the worst nut. And I put that in quotes because it's not a nut. And then you add hydrogenated oils and you add sugar and you add processing and you add all of this other crap that comes to it. Yeah, it's horrible for you. But parents give it to their kids every day because no one asks questions. The FDA has one of the biggest lobbying groups in DC. Why do you think that is? They get everything passed.
So you mentioned alcohol.
You're getting me going, man. You're not even saying anything, and you're getting me wound up.
I can tell. I love it. I mean, you mentioned alcohol, which Ashley and I didn't really like hearing as being one of the worst things you can consume. Now peanut butter's up there.
Peanut butter's up there, yeah.
Is it all peanut butter or just kind of certain peanut butter?
No, like if you make your own peanut butter.
But if you buy it in the store.
Typically, yeah. I mean, you can get the organic, non-processed peanut butter, which is a lot better for you. But again, peanuts are not the best. They can be rancid at times. They're not a good nut. You look into walnuts and Brazil nuts and, some almonds and all of that. Yeah, you're getting tons of properties. You're actually getting minerals, which you need. Selenium and zinc and all of the things that you need that peanuts don't have. So yeah, I would cut out the peanut butter immediately. Rich.
I'm not a big peanut butter guy. I was, kid growing up. I mean, come on. I was going to say we all did it. Maybe most of us
Well,
did.
Here's the thing that really frustrates me, why I get wound up, because you look at what we ate 20 or 30 years ago, it's not the same. These foods are completely different. They're altered. And it's because of the lobbyist groups in DC that these companies are interchanging everything. And they're adding chemicals. They're adding all of this stuff to it. And they act like it's the exact same. The same bread that we had 30 years ago, and it's completely different.
All right, fire off a few more. I mean, alcohol, peanut butter, what else might people, and I think most people would realize that alcohol's not great for you, but being one of the worst things that you can consume. But what are some others?
Oh gosh.
What comes to mind?
Why don't you pick something and I'll tell you good or bad.
Oh man.
Yeah, what foods do typically, I don't go
out. What did I have for lunch?
Yeah, what'd you have for lunch? Let's break this down here. I can get on fast foods all day too. I don't eat fast food, so I'm not sure what most people eat, but
I'm sure if you go to a restaurant, there's something you can get most places that is at least relatively healthy.
The biggest thing I would say at restaurants, let's say you go to a Mexican restaurant, you're getting chicken and just the fajitas. You don't get the wraps, you don't get any of the other stuff, the chips, or you get a steak and that's it. The problem is a lot of them are going to put the worst kinds of oils on the pan to cook that stuff in. So it's not just going to be whole butter. It's not just going to be lard, which is, untouched basically. It's going to be hydrogenated oils, the cheaper stuff that tastes a lot better that people want. You get into fried foods. I would say fried foods are some of the top foods that are the most unhealthy. So, lowers your natural hormone levels, your testosterone levels. What happens when you do that? Well, you decrease muscle mass. You increase or decrease your BMR. Your gut health starts to diminish. All of this from fried foods, deep fried foods, from these trans fats that they fry them in. Not only that, but you have the carbohydrates around that soak it in. So you have the horrible carbohydrates. And we talk about that as one of the macronutrients. You have good carbs and bad carbs. So all fruits are carbohydrates. All, vegetables are carbohydrates. But is a sweet potato the same as bread or a biscuit? Absolutely not. I usually tell my clientele that there's 3 different groupings of carbs. You have the really good carbohydrates. You have the medium, which you only want to consume occasionally. And you have the really bad that you never want to consume.
All right, give me examples of each.
Okay, so you have spinach, kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, all of the good vegetables. Let's say with the fruits, maybe the berries.
All right, so let me stop you for just a second.
Yeah.
Like, you have a salad with, obviously you've got some lettuce in there, maybe some spinach, some other things. That not work on a keto diet because there are carbohydrates in vegetables?
Well, you have to keep it under a certain amount. Usually most people, it's under 30 grams of carbohydrates total. That's gross carbs a day, in order to put your body into a ketogenic phase, and you're producing ketone bodies. So if you eat, let's say, a big salad with spinach and there's no other vegetables on that, it's a big salad of spinach, you're probably getting in about 5 grams of carbohydrates. So yeah, there are some. And I don't think there's any food that does not have a little bit of carbohydrates.
Okay.
It's really tough. Or, unless it's the animal fat or animal protein of some kind. But no, all of that is great. All of the dense leafy greens, the berries, which strawberries are great, but they're not actually a berry. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I didn't know that. No.
And I think avocados are berries.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure they are berries. So it's a little, I don't know, it's tough to follow, but all your berries are great. The blueberries are one of the best. They have the highest antioxidant, the lowest sugar, the highest fiber. It's really hard to beat blueberries. Then you get into your medium, right? Only the ones that you should eat occasionally. Certain potatoes, sweet potatoes are great. I would say they can be eaten a little bit more than that, but you get into other potatoes or the other kinds of fruits that are a little bit higher sugar. You get into beets and some of the other vegetables. I'm trying to give examples, maybe corn, things like that you shouldn't eat a whole lot. They're more starchy. They don't have as much high density nutrients associated with them.
Okay.
So you're getting the calories, they're more starchy, they're going to be converted easier in your body. But they're still whole. They're still good food. You haven't done anything to them. They're not processed. Then you get the really bad stuff. I think you know where I'm going with this. The carbohydrates like pizza, like cookies, any kind of sugar, any kind of breads that are processed, all of that is the stuff you should really never take in. And that is the stuff that most Americans take in on a daily basis.
So do you not eat sandwiches?
So fortunately, we live in a time that, yeah, it's processed, but they make really good quality bread to where you can do keto bread, high protein bread, which the main ingredient is a whey protein base. And then they have like chicory root fiber, I think is the second ingredient. And then after that, it's less than 2% of, salt and some of the other stuff in there. Some breads have a lot of soybean oil, so you got to be careful of that. The high protein bread, they'll put tons of soybean oil, which is really bad. But, I do have a sandwich occasionally, but it is that high protein keto bread. So I might not follow a ketogenic diet, but I will follow certain foods that are more ketogenic. But you look, most bread, the flour is the worst part. It's highly processed flour. And they use, what's the chemical? I can't think of the name of it. It's the same that's in a lot of weed killer. They use that chemical. They'll spray the fields of the wheat where they get the flour from to soften that wheat with that chemical. That's why it's very carcinogenic. That's why all of these foods that the FDA is approving, because the lobbyists in DC that is killing people and getting more cancer. That's why, cancer rates are sky high right now. Why do you think that is? It's everything we're ingesting, everything we're drinking and touching.
So what does Ben Crosswhite eat?
Depends. Are you asking in December when it's Christmas? No, like
what's a splurge for you?
I love homemade cookies.
You do? Okay.
I love homemade cookies, and I'll make them for my kids probably once or twice a week. And because I don't want them to have a childhood to where their dad is concerned about every little thing, right? There has to be a balance to it. Because then they'll grow up and it's like, the people that push no alcohol, their kids are the ones that become drunks later in life.
Sometimes the preacher's kids are the ones
exactly.
who are there.
There's
right?
a reason for that, right? So I want to give my kids certain foods, but I'm not gonna have Mountain Dew in the house. I'm not gonna have, we have raw milk. We don't use regular milk. We do raw, and which is a lot of benefits there. But we'll make cookies, but it's going to be organic flour, of really high quality organic flour. It's going to be coconut sugar instead of regular sugar, and honey that we put in there, and maple syrup. And we're going to use organic eggs. And, we're going to add in some of the really more healthy chocolate chips. So yeah, I make cookies, but is it the store-bought that has tons of refined sugar and tons of refined flour and the, whatever vegetable oil they use in those cookies? No, absolutely not. Today, what did I have to eat today? I had 8 eggs, a little bit of butter in the pan, a little bit of salt. I eat eggs every day. Eggs.
How do you eat them?
Scrambled every time.
Scrambled, okay.
Occasionally, my favorite breakfast is avocado toast on that protein bread, that keto protein bread, with avocado on top, some seasoning, and then an egg on top of that with hot honey. I'll do hot honey on top of that, and it is the best thing you'll ever eat, and the most nutritionally dense food that you'll eat.
So more of your splurges.
More splurges,
yeah.
Man. Okay, all right.
What are you embarrassed to tell people that you eat?
I love pizza.
You do? Okay.
I love pizza. Now I got to be careful because I train all these owners of the restaurants. I mean, I literally have, owners that own different pizza joints in town and, Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and everything. So I got to be careful. But I will say that you need to keep it in moderation. The pizza I eat, like we had a pizza night the other night and it was fresh sourdough bread. And we had a friend that made it for us and we just rolled it out. We put the sauce, which was a no sugar sauce, basically just tomatoes and spices. And then we did, obviously cheese, which it's really hard to get any kind of good cheese. But we did the cheese and we did, some vegetables and things on top. So that was our splurge, and hot honey on that. Obviously I love hot honey. So it's better, especially the sourdough for your digestive tract, but it's still pizza, or another pizza I do is, it's actually a chicken crust pizza.
A chicken crust.
The crust is made of ground chicken or ground turkey. Yeah, it's incredible. A lot better than what you'd think. You grind up the chicken, or you get the ground chicken already done. You put it in a bowl, you add an egg, you add your spices, Italian seasoning, and then you add Parmesan cheese. Mix it up, you spread it out like a pizza, you bake it about 12 minutes, and then you pull it out and you put all the sauce and cheese on it and toppings that you want. You rebake it, and it holds just like a pizza. High protein, basically no carbohydrates, and it's super dense and it fills you up.
So I would think that you'd admit that you're the exception in terms of what you eat relative to most people. Unfortunately,
I would say yes, but that's the scary thing is I don't eat crazy healthy. I don't think I do, but it really should be the standard for everybody. That's the really frustrating and scary thing. Is we're just all on go, 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 and we don't want to look into things. We don't read labels. We don't see what's in it. We don't care to ask. It's like, oh, well, 95% of the population is eating this, so I should eat it. No, you need to ask questions. And yeah, you're right. Not many like me, but I wish there would be more. And it's going to be my goal to get more to eat.
Is there such a thing as a good diet, right? 6 days a week?
Instead of 7? Was that the end of your question?
That was okay. Instead of 7. Like, give me that one splurge day where I can eat what I want to eat.
Sure. But you look at 6. All right. What's the percentage of that? 6 out of 7. You're still getting a B minus.
Well, but
one day and you're getting a B minus.
Well, but all right. So the keto diet that we were talking about before. As soon as you eat carbs,
you're done. Your body stops producing ketone bodies because your body wants to get energy from carbohydrates. That's the easiest place.
So you can't do that.
You can't
on that type of diet.
Not if you want to stay in a ketogenic, and it'll take you 3 days to get back into.
Right? Is there a plan where? And my understanding is people who will do that type of diet will eventually get away from that cheat day, or that cheat day will be less and less and less because they realize, hey, I'm doing so many good things for 6 days. Why am I messing it up on the 7th?
Typically. And I make a lot of challenges to clients with that exact same thing. I say, hey, I will, whatever, I'll say there's some kind of reward to get to 6 days or 7 days, and say on that 8th day, you can eat whatever you want. But promise me, and I'll shake their hand and I'll make them promise that they're not going to have any ounce of sugar for 6 or 7 days. Usually by that 7th or 8th day, they don't crave sugar anymore. So that's the other thing. When you're in that diet, long term, you stop craving the sugar. And when you eat a piece of fruit, it's the best thing in the world.
Well, you said before, though, you can't not eat sugar. So,
Well, you can. It depends on how long you want to go. But
okay.
I mean, yeah.
But there's sugar in fruit, right?
Exactly. It's natural, and it's going to be counteracted by the fiber that's in sugar. It goes in at the same time, and if you're eating the skin of the fruit. But there is natural sugar, which your body will metabolize a lot easier than refined sugar. And you won't get as insulin. Well, you want to be more insulin sensitive. The problem with people when they eat too much sugar consistently every day is the sensitivity of insulin goes down. And that's where you get into diabetes. That's where you get into, body fat storing. The higher insulin levels in your body, and the less sensitive you are to it, the more body fat you're going to store.
True or false? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
As related to protein that we mentioned earlier, true. I would say protein in the morning, the studies show that is the most important time to get it because you want to convert as quickly as possible from a catabolic phase into an anabolic phase.
So even if it's just a protein drink, a protein
shake is one of the best things you can do in the morning. I've done it for years. I kind of got burnt out a little bit this past year, but I've just started back and, I'll do a raw egg, or if I eat eggs that day, I probably don't. So I usually don't do an egg anymore, but you throw a handful of spinach, you do a protein powder, a really good quality one. You do acai blend or, some other nutrient dense type of superfood. And then you add in, water or almond milk or whole milk or something like that and blend it. And it's one of the best things you can do.
What about the protein shakes you buy in stores?
Not as good. Anything you buy is going to have a lot of preservatives in them. So you got to watch for that. You got to be careful. Typically, the whole goal of most companies is to make a high profit margin too. Mm-hmm. So, they're going to use the cheaper quality protein. They're going to use the stuff that you won't ask any questions about. And they're able to lie up to, I think it's like 18% of the nutrition facts. So anything you read, they're able to lie 18% of that legally.
So protein in the morning, extremely important.
100%. Protein shake or eggs are the two best things you can eat in the morning.
To just get your system going.
Right.
And I forgot the word you used earlier.
Catabolic into anabolic phase.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to, when you're resting at night, you're in a catabolic phase and you want to convert into the anabolic as quickly as possible waking up.
So first thing.
As much as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First thing. And then the more protein you eat throughout the day, it's a really high satiety food. So you're going to be less hungry throughout the day as you eat a lot of protein. So when I eat 8 eggs, I'm not hungry for another 4 or 5 hours. I'm full. And, protein and then fat are going to be the two highest satiety things that you're going to eat. Carbohydrates, you're going to want something else immediately. It's going to burn right through you. Eggs are one of the best things. So I would not miss the eggs. That's one of the best things you can get. It's one of the few foods on this planet, the yolks included. All right, so now you're getting into another thing. There's a lot of research, good and bad. So this was beginning of last year, I think I did this. It was a 7-day, maybe the middle of last year, 7-day egg only diet I did. I ate 24 eggs a day for 7 days in a row, nothing else. It was exactly 2,000 calories, 1,900 or something. And I scrambled every time. And at the end of those 7 days, I was going to go a full 30 days, but a Harvard med student beat me to it. He did the exact same thing, the exact same amount of eggs, and published his findings of his blood work and muscle mass and body fat and all of that, his whole composition. He published it when I was about 6 days in. So I was like, okay, there's no point in me to continue, but I did it for 7 and I felt incredible. My mental clarity and acuity was at an all-time high. My body fat was down probably 3 or 4%, I think. My muscle mass retained, and I think I got even stronger in those 7 days. Everything was better. And when he did it, he found that his HDL went up, his good cholesterol. His LDL went down slightly, which is exactly opposite of what they say that yolks will do. He did whole eggs. His body fat went down, his muscle mass went up. I mean, everything was better with eggs. It's one of the only foods in the world that you have all essential amino acids in the egg, in the food.
What do you put on your eggs?
A little bit of seasoning, that's about it.
That's about it?
Yeah. A little butter possibly, and then a little bit of seasoning.
Hot sauce, ketchup, nothing?
No, my wife does sriracha, but no, I typically don't. When you're eating that many eggs a day, it doesn't matter what you put on it. You're just stuffing them down at that point. But, I can do 8 a day, and if I eat more than 8, I'm pretty egged out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But one of the best things you can eat. The more eggs you eat, I promise, the better your body composition is going to be and the healthier you're going to be.
One more diet for you. And a lot of talk. I mean, my doctors told me, and I've read other places, the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, yeah. I would say it's a good diet. It's a good overall diet. The downside is the red meat. I do think there's a lot of good qualities in red meat, and depending on the red meat that you eat, venison and elk and some of the other ones are really, really good red meats you can eat. Beef is good, depending on the type of beef that you get. The store-bought, not so much. So I would do it, local around here, buy from a farmer that slaughters their own cows. But that would be the only downside. I think the red meat is essential for getting the right amount of nutrients and iron and some of the other minerals that you can take in.
Is there this is probably a very difficult question to answer. How individualized, I'll ask it this way, how individualized is a diet? Are certain foods better for some people than other people because of body composition? I mean, how deep do we go?
So you can get blood work done and send it off. Very expensive, I believe, but they can tell you what your body responds to better than other things or what you're allergic to. But overall, the really good quality foods are going to be good for everybody for the most part. Now, some people are more sensitive digestively to other foods. Let's say nightshade type of vegetables or, certain fruits that cause gout or, too much protein causing gout, whatever it may be. There's a lot of different things that you have to consider. But overall, I promise if you take most of the population, you put them on a desert island and they're only getting certain foods and whole foods, they're all going to be healthier when they come off that island. Without a doubt, the foods we're taking in now, I guarantee you're going to be healthier if you switch. No matter if your digestive system doesn't like it at the beginning, you are going to get better. I've
heard it said that when you go into the grocery store, if you just walk around the edges.
Don't go through the aisles. For the most part, that is true.
Because you got like your produce, you've got your meats, right? Your seafood, your frozen section with the ice cream.
There's very there's some there's some outliers to it for sure. I think for the most part, going through the aisles, you're in a dangerous territory. The aisles are where all the processed foods are going to be. Now, you might get into the canned tuna and things like that are pretty healthy. But the chips and all the snacks and everything that you look at, even if they try to, now they'll try to trick you too, less fat and or low fat or keto. And then you look at all the oils they put in order for it to be keto is just horrible for you. These rancid oils that are just refined again and again and again. And they put it in your food like it's nothing. It could start your car, take place of gasoline, but yet we're eating it. It's really sickening. So yeah, I would say stay around the edges of the supermarket as much as you can. The vegetables are great, organic versus non-organic. There's another, people, a lot of people say that there's no difference. There is some difference, but a lot of the organic fields are beside the non-organic. So the spray will get over into the organic side. They'll spray the non-organic. So that there is a case to that, but is it going to be as much toxins and chemicals? No, probably not. So we still buy organic as best we can. Growing it at home, doing like the plants in home that are the, what are they called, a hydroponic or
I don't know.
They're basically just water growth plants. That's going to be the best. Where it's going to be, or greenhouse or something like that. But we buy organic.
Best advice you can give somebody, and maybe it is just that walking around the outside of the grocery store. Right. Because, obviously, you're going to customize a diet for each individual depending on what their goals are and all that. But, if you had a general rule or a general diet that you would say that people would be pretty good on.
I have a few little snippets. I wouldn't say diet as a whole, but
tips. Yeah.
Yeah. If it wasn't around 100 years ago, you probably should not eat it. That's number one.
Okay.
Staying around the outside of a grocery store is probably number two. If it goes,
Ashley, when did alcohol become invented? Was that over 100 years ago?
Yeah, there you go.
We're back on that. Sorry.
Yeah, around Prohibition time.
So if it hasn't been around 100 years, okay.
That's 90% of the foods today were not around 100 years ago. If you think about that, then you think about everyone says, "Oh, I'm overweight." I don't know. You told me like, "Hey, it's all genetic," and your weight and everything.
Right.
No, but you hear that a lot. You hear my metabolism and my thyroid and this and that. Well, look back 100 years, how much of the population was overweight? That category was less than 10%. It was like 6 or 7%. So there's no way. It's the same genetics passed down. Yeah, you might ruin your thyroid with the type of foods you're eating, but again, you did that. So keep that in mind. What you eat is a blueprint to how your body is going to respond. The other thing I would say, if it goes bad within 7 days, it's probably something you should be eating. If it doesn't, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Ben
Crosswhite, Crosswhite Athletic Club, talking health, nutrition, want to get into fitness for a little bit as well. As we're here, 2026, everybody's resolutions. I'll reiterate the stat you threw out earlier. 88%. 88% of people by February 1st, their health and fitness. Is it all resolutions or just health and fitness?
I don't know the stat I saw. I don't think it differentiated between. So it just said resolutions, but most are fitness related. I will say that most New Year's resolutions. But yeah, it's pretty scary.
Let's talk about the fitness side of things.
Yeah, let's do it. You got a couple hours?
People, well, that's the interesting part is, when I hear and read and see different things about losing weight, so much more of it is about what you eat than it is about how you work out.
You're not wrong there. However, in order to change your basal metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate, you have to build muscle mass. In order to burn the right amount of calories, you have to work out. And taking in less calories, I'm trying to think of a way to word this. Let's say you take in 2,000 calories of food, but you don't exercise. And then let's say you take in 4,000 calories of food, but you exercise off 2,000 of those. You burn off 2,000. So both are at a net of 2,000. It's not the same thing. They're completely different. The one that takes in 4,000 calories of food, let's say pretty decent food, their metabolism will start to skyrocket. It's starting to burn more. It's burning more fat, visceral fat, subcutaneous fat, everything. But they're burning off that 2,000 calories. So it's still at a net. The ones that take in 2,000 and don't work out at all, their BMR is dropping. It's not the same thing. So exercise is very important.
I think a lot of people think that exercise, mainly cardio, is the best way to lose weight, and mainly because you're sweating and you're sweating off the weight. True or false?
False. You are not sweat. The sweat is not fat melting. I know that makes a good shirt, but it is not true. And you can't spot reduce. That's the other. I know you're going to ask me about that too. You cannot spot reduce. The only way. To people. So you see people that do crunches to try to get the body fat off their stomach. That's not going to work. You can't do that. Your body composition changes according to your genetics and a lot of food. The food is the only way you can spot reduce. Alcohol is going to go straight to visceral fat on your belly, typically. So you cut out the alcohol, you will spot reduce the belly. Certain avocado will help to burn visceral fat as well. So I think sweet potatoes too, but
certain avocado, did you say?
Just avocado in general.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, avocado in general. So you have foods that can spot reduce, but your exercise alone is not going to spot reduce. Doing bicep curls will not make your body fat around your arms go down. So with that, cardio is not an end-all be-all either. Once you get off a treadmill, your body stops burning calories. Your BMR doesn't change. You didn't gain any muscle mass unless you're doing some high sprints, at an incline. You're walking, which walking is great, but you walk or you jog, you step off, you stop burning excess calories. But when you work out and you work with weights, dumbbells and barbells and all the bands and different things, body weight, whatever it is, calisthenics, you actually tear those muscle fibers and it raises your BMR for the next 48 hours. So you're burning excess calories while you sleep and the next day and the next day. So that's where the weight training comes in as really a better marker for success with weight loss and body fat specifically than cardio.
How often should people be working out?
Most of our clientele come in 2 to 3 days a week because again, you have to keep a balance. It is.
It is?
It is. Depending on your goals, right? So if you want to be Mr. Olympia, no, absolutely not. My friend Lee Haney, I talk to on a pretty regular basis. He won Mr. Olympia 8 years in a row. He was doing 2 workouts a day, both 2 hours each, I think. His diet was flawless. So yeah, you have something like that, or the Miss USA girls that I trained. No, they're in 5 days a week.
Now a little bit different, right? Because that's sort of their job.
It's their job.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when you're, when you own your own business, or you have a job that you're working pretty hard and you have 2 kids at home, or whatever the case may be, you want to have a good lifestyle. You really need to have a balance of life, and that's not going to happen working out 5 days a week. So they come in 2 to 3 times a week. They still see great results. They don't get burnout. They eat pretty good about 80% of the time. And we monitor their success. And let's say they're not close to their goal yet, we may step things up a little bit. But typically 2 to 3 times a week, and then eating pretty good 80%, 85% of the time, they're going to see good results.
What about the days that they're not working out? Do they need to do something those days? Is it just stretching? Is it running? Is it aerobic exercise? What is it? Nothing.
So we have some that do nothing and some that do some cardio on the off days. I'd say cardio is great. One of the biggest longevity factors for someone of how long they're going to live is VO2 max. It's really skeletal muscle mass and VO2 max. So cardio is good to do.
What's VO2 max? Basically,
it's a measurable output of your oxygen. So of how much your, I think there's tidal volume, there's VO2 max, they're all a little bit different. But the VO2 max, basically, they're going to put you on a treadmill, they're going to take it up to a 15 incline, and they're going to see how long you can sustain and then what that output is. And, Lance Armstrong, I think, had like a 90 something. Most people have 40, 50 something. But the higher the VO2 max, the more longevity you're going to have, typically. Grip strength is another one that I'm getting off topic here. But anyway, cardio, what I'm saying is cardio is not a bad thing. And doing any excess cardio on your off days is great, but it should not be the only component to weight loss or body fat loss, because you will lose. When you step off that treadmill, let's say you run and you lose all this weight, you're losing muscle mass with it if you don't strength train. And then after 2 or 3 months, you might have lost 30 pounds, but you stop running, you're going to gain that right back because your BMR didn't adjust. If you weight train and you lose the weight, it's going to be a lot harder to gain that weight back.
For people, because I'm sure there are folks out there who work out quite a bit, but they're not seeing the results on weight loss or other things. Is that all about the diet?
Well, usually diet is big. I mean, some people say 70% or 80%. I would say it's pretty close to that. But then again, you have to have ways to measure that. Your body composition is completely different than just weight. Weight alone, like you got to take in consideration interstitial fluids. When you work out hard and you do muscle training for muscle hypertrophy, building biceps and chests and getting your legs stronger and all that, you are going to add water weight to those muscles. The skeletal muscles will retain more water weight. So on top of that, your bone density is going to go up. And then your muscle mass is 19.8% more dense than fat. So your weight might not have changed, but your body composition is completely different. So you have to take those into account. And a lot of people don't. They get on the scale. Oh, I haven't lost anything. I've been working out with weights. I've been eating better. I've been doing this. But if they looked at the body fat, they would see that their body fat went from 26% down to 23%. So you have to have different ways to measure. I always tell my clients, take pictures before and after. Look at those pictures. Look at your, how your clothes fit. We're going to do your body fat. We're going to do, measurements of all your, your whole body. There's different ways to measure that and success. It's not just weight.
When people are working out, do you feel like they do certain things that they feel like will make them look better or feel better, or, how much can you bench, that type of thing?
Sure.
Where they're not actually doing something that's what's in the best interest of their total body, but it's what might impress people or make them feel better about themselves or whatever. I don't know if I'm asking this question.
I think I know where you're getting at. And I think it's still beneficial because, you look good, you feel good, you play good, right? If you're going to the gym and you enjoy doing it because you're getting on the bench and you're getting stronger and it's more impressive to, people to see that, then it's great. You're at the gym. You're probably gonna do some other things too, which is better than you not going to the gym because you hate it and you got burnt out on it. But yeah, there are always going to be things that you could do better, differently. If your goal is strength training alone and burning body fat, doing some deep thrusters with dumbbells will be far better than bench press. But if you hate doing that and you love bench press, by all means, do bench press. But I get what you're saying. I think there needs to be a balance of what's going to be effective and beneficial, but also what is going to be fun for you to do.
This is something that I feel is important, but you would obviously know much better than I would. Training the proper way, right? I mean, you can see people go into the gym and decide, I'm going to bench, I'm going to do this, but if you're not using the right techniques, if you're not using the right weights, if you don't use maybe it's the order in which you do things. I mean,
Sure.
I don't
Sure.
know. How important is all that? And where I'm going with this is for people who just, are sitting there going, I want to get started, but you've talked about a lot of different things here, Ben, and it's very overwhelming.
It can be.
How do I start?
So to answer that question, I think, yes, it's very important to have good quality form if you are a bodybuilder and you're specifically trying to grow your lats and not your deltoids or your rhomboids and not your teres muscles, or let's say you're a Miss USA girl that doesn't want the thighs to get bigger, but the butt to get bigger. You want more vastus lateralis, engagement, the outer thigh, and you want to have that more striations there, something like that. So form is incredibly beneficial for all of that, right? Because you have to focus on certain segments of your body.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of getting injured, if you're not going to get injured, form is not that important.
Really?
And I probably will be putting a black box for this with other trainers, but you have clients that will do the wrong thing, or not the wrong thing, but their form is just horrible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we tell them again and again and again, they still don't change it very, very well. It's pretty much still bad, but they're not going to get hurt. It's either stop them and spend 6 weeks correcting this form to make it perfect, or let them continue and burn calories and enjoy what they're doing. And, they're not going to get hurt. I would rather the latter.
So it's still beneficial for them.
Exactly. It's still beneficial. Again, unless you are strength training for a specific reason, or you're bodybuilding for a reason, or whatever it may be, or you're going to get hurt, the form is not as important. If you're doing, let's say I mentioned thrusters earlier, we have the dumbbells at your shoulders, you're squatting, you're pressing them up, or a barbell. If you're doing really sloppy form to where it's sloppy, but your back is not going to be compromised in any way,
Mm-hmm.
you're still going to be burning calories. You're still going to be building muscle. You might be developing the lateral delts more than the front delts or something, or engaging the quads instead of the glutes, but you're engaging muscles. So I think it's a bunch of baloney that, people say you have to have perfect form on everything. You don't. You just got to move. You got to enjoy it. You got to move and just don't get hurt.
I'm going to put this one on a T for you.
Okay.
Because I really believe this, and, not just in weight training or nutrition, but anything, golf, pick anything. If you want to be good at something, it's important to have someone who knows what they're talking about help you in the beginning.
100%. And you're talking about just expertise,
not
accountability of any kind.
Well, no, just in terms of expertise. And I'll use golf, right? You're starting out your kid, you want to play golf. Should I teach my kid, or should I bring him to a pro and let a pro teach my kid?
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Give him the fundamentals, whatever happens from there. And I would think the same thing with nutrition. I can look something up online and it says, oh, do this diet or that diet or whatever.
Sure.
But
you don't realize they're getting paid by other people and they have a biased opinion as to that diet or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone that's not getting any kind of compensation.
And in weight training too. Even if someone is getting compensated, right? You're paying an expert.
Sure. But I'm not getting compensated by, let's say, a protein company.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to push a certain protein powder because I love it and I did my research and due diligence, but I'm not getting kickbacks from that company.
Mm-hmm.
That is where it's important. And of course, I'm a trainer. I'm getting paid for people to come in and see me. So I'm going to push that. But also, I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because I know the results that my clients have gotten over the years. You're the best salesman when you do something that really works and is going to be beneficial to your client. And that's why I'm one of the best salesmen in town, because I know exactly what this is going to do for every single person that comes in my door. And they're all going to be better for that. They're going to be better fathers, mothers, wives, husbands, you name it. It's going to affect them in every aspect of their life.
Someone wants to get started. They're thinking, new year, I'm going to be one of the 12% that lasts past February 1st. How do you recommend they get started? Because again, we've talked about a ton of different things, could be overwhelming. What's the best way to just get started?
Write things down. Have a plan written out. Have notes, have reminders, have someone to keep you accountable. Know that the first 2 weeks is going to be all emotions. After that, it's going to be all habits. And if you don't have the accountability from the 2 weeks to the 4 weeks, you're not going to make it. You can have all the best music and the best motivational speeches in the world, but you will not make it if you don't have to do that. So my recommendation is to have a trainer. And I'm not just pushing with CrossFit Athletic Club, with me or anybody else on my team, but we are great. I know that, but there's other great trainers too. So get a trainer, have someone to keep you accountable. Can't be your friend, your wife, it's got to be someone that you're paying that is going to keep you accountable. And if that trainer does not take you through some kind of assessment, some kind of goal orientation, an initial consultation, then you should not work with them. If they're just bringing you in, it's like, yeah, we'll do some things here and there and we'll jump in and that's not going to help you. You need someone that's going to help set goals, obtainable goals, sit down with you, tell you about diet and nutrition, and want your success as much as you want your success.
Ben Crosswhite, Crosswhite Athletic Club. CrosswhiteAthleticClub.com for people who who are looking for a little help and don't want to be one of the 12%.
Yeah, that's it's a scary statistic, unfortunately.
I know we've barely scratched the surface, so we'll have to do it again and kind of
I love that.
dive a little deeper. But appreciate you coming in. Thanks
for having me. Yeah, it's been fun.